Dripos is an all-in-one software for coffee shops, point of sale, online ordering, mobile ordering, employee scheduling, payroll, you name it, we pretty much have a feature for it.
For us, it's very important to have a seamless, frictionless experience for the customers. We want them to be able to order when they want, how they want. The new Stripe S700 device is very sleek, minimal, modernist design, which fits really well with our brand. If there's a rush, we can pull it out from the counter and open 2 POS registers, or we can fulfill orders at the customer's table or at pop-ups that we do as well.
Now we can put all the things we have, like loyalty, receipts, tipping, onto the reader. It's basically like the register unit, but on the go.
We get to focus on building these other tools by Stripe enabling us to not have to worry about some of the painful parts of doing payments.
Building the right in-person payments experience requires both great software and great hardware. That's why we designed Stripe Reader, an easy-to-use mobile card reader that accepts chip, contactless, and swipe payments with end-to-end encryption. You can pair it with accessories for taking payments at your countertop and on the go, or you can even use our design file to 3D print your own accessories. Stripe Reader works with Terminal's APIs and SDKs to enable you to customize your in-person payments experience and deploy hardware at scale. And it's all seamlessly integrated with the rest of Stripe, so you can create a unified commerce solution for any kind of business.
We're here at 12 Pell, a barbershop located in the heart of Chinatown. Best slice in the city, that's what we call it. When creating the modern barbershop experience, we kind of dialed in on what our lifestyle is like. And because everything is digital for us, we realized we have all the technology that we need already in our hands through our phones.
So for hearts, nothing too high on top. 60-40, 70-30 splits work best.
Tap to Pay is like a feature out of a movie. It's so futuristic, and it's one less piece of hardware that we have to worry about as a shop. Being able to pull out your credit card in the chair, tap it to your barber's phone, and walk away with a few clicks of the button is amazing. That seamless technology and the integration with Squire lets us deliver a next level premium experience. We don't have to worry about payments, and it allows us to do what we do best, so that your time in the chair is only doing what matters, and that's spending time with your barber and the boys.
No see.
Oh, too good. How are you?
How you doing?
At Alaska, we want to provide remarkable day of travel experiences.
We kindly ask that everyone puts their tray tables up, fastens their seatbelts.
We have over 1,200 flights a day. That's tens of thousands of guests. So innovation is necessary from the ground all the way to 40,000 feet. That's why we're partnering with Stripe to implement Apple's Tap to Pay on iPhone. It's an in-person, contactless payment solution on all of our domestic Alaska Airlines flights using only an iPhone.
Awesome, thank you.
No extra hardware. It's intuitive, it's easy to use, and it's built with all the privacy and security of iPhone we already know and trust. It's simplifying operations for our entire team, and there's no extra training required. It's more efficient for our business, and it helps our flight attendants focus on that personal experience with the guest. With Tap to Pay on iPhone and Stripe, we're able to deliver on this promise and really double down on what makes us who we are.
We hope you enjoyed our flight this evening, and we will be on the ground soon.
Are you spending too much time handling, processing, checking cash for your business? We think we can help. Introducing BB POS, the inventor of MPOS technology. We are known throughout the payment transaction industry for developing systems and services ahead of technology trends. We help you create secure, high-quality, flexible and affordable payment solutions that deliver the highest standards of security in any environment. BB POS understands that it is critical that your business runs smoothly. For that, payment transactions must be secure, quick and easy for your customers. So instead, you can focus on providing the best service possible for them. Our payment solutions will reduce your costs and save you time to market. Leading on innovation, our new Smart POS technology will bring your transactions into the next generation. And our smart retail systems will do the same for your business. All with BB POS.
Dripos is an all-in-one software for coffee shops, point of sale, online ordering, mobile ordering, employee scheduling, payroll, you name it, we pretty much have a feature for it.
For us, it's very important to have a seamless, frictionless experience for the customers. We want them to be able to order when they want, how they want. The new Stripe S700 device is very sleek, minimal, modernist design, which fits really well with our brand. If there's a rush, we can pull it out from the counter and open 2 POS registers, or we can fulfill orders at the customer's table or at pop-ups that we do as well.
Now we can put all the things we have, like loyalty, receipts, tipping, onto the reader. It's basically like the registry unit, but on the go.
We get to focus on building these other tools by Stripe enabling us to not have to worry about some of the painful parts of doing payments.
Building the right in-person payments experience requires both great software and great hardware. That's why we designed Stripe Reader, an easy-to-use mobile card reader that accepts chip, contactless, and swipe payments with end-to-end encryption. You can pair it with accessories for taking payments at your countertop and on the go, or you can even use our design file to 3D print your own accessories. Stripe Reader works with Terminal's APIs and SDKs to enable you to customize your in-person payments experience and deploy hardware at scale. And it's all seamlessly integrated with the rest of Stripe, so you can create a unified commerce solution for any kind of business.
We're here at 12 Pell, a barbershop located in the heart of Chinatown. Best slice in the city, that's what we call it. When creating the modern barbershop experience, we kind of dialed in on what our lifestyle is like. And because everything is digital for us, we realized we have all the technology that we need already in our hands through our phones.
So for hearts, nothing too high on top. 60-40, 70-30 splits work best.
Tap to Pay is like a feature out of a movie. It's so futuristic, and it's one less piece of hardware that we have to worry about as a shop. Being able to pull out your credit card in the chair, tap it to your barber's phone, and walk away with a few clicks of the button is amazing. That seamless technology and the integration with Squire lets us deliver a next level premium experience. We don't have to worry about payments, and it allows us to do what we do best, so that your time in the chair is only doing what matters, and that's spending time with your barber and the boys.
No see. Oh, too good. How are you? How you doing?
At Alaska, we want to provide remarkable day of travel experiences.
We kindly ask that everyone puts their tray tables up, fastens their seatbelts.
We have over 1,200 flights a day. That's tens of thousands of guests. So innovation is necessary from the ground all the way to 40,000 feet. That's why we're partnering with Stripe to implement Apple's Tap to Pay on iPhone. It's an in-person, contactless payment solution on all of our domestic Alaska Airlines flights using only an iPhone.
Awesome, thank you.
No extra hardware. It's intuitive, it's easy to use, and it's built with all the privacy and security of iPhone we already know and trust. It's simplifying operations for our entire team, and there's no extra training required. It's more efficient for our business, and it helps our flight attendants focus on that personal experience with the guest. With Tap to Pay on iPhone and Stripe, we're able to deliver on this promise and really double down on what makes us who we are.
We hope you enjoyed our flight this evening, and we will be on the ground soon.
Are you spending too much time handling, processing, checking cash for your business? We think we can help. Introducing BB POS, the inventor of MPOS technology. We are known throughout the payment transaction industry for developing systems and services ahead of technology trends. We help you create secure, high-quality, flexible and affordable payment solutions that deliver the highest standards of security in any environment. BB POS understands that it is critical that your business runs smoothly. For that, payment transactions must be secure, quick and easy for your customers. So instead, you can focus on providing the best service possible for them. Our payment solutions will reduce your costs and save you time to market. Leading on innovation, our new Smart POS technology will bring your transactions into the next generation. And our smart retail systems will do the same for your business. All with BB POS.
Dripos is an all-in-one software for coffee shops, point of sale, online ordering, mobile ordering, employee scheduling, payroll, you name it, we pretty much have a feature for it.
For us, it's very important to have a seamless, frictionless experience for the customers. We want them to be able to order when they want, how they want. The new Stripe S700 device is very sleek, minimal, modernist design, which fits really well with our brand. If there's a rush, we can pull it out from the counter and open 2 POS registers, or we can fulfill orders at the customer's table or at pop-ups that we do as well.
Now we can put all the things we have, like loyalty, receipts, tipping, onto the reader. It's basically like the registry unit, but on the go.
We get to focus on building these other tools by Stripe enabling us to not have to worry about some of the painful parts of doing payments.
Building the right in-person payments experience requires both great software and great hardware. That's why we designed Stripe Reader, an easy-to-use mobile card reader that accepts chip, contactless, and swipe payments with end-to-end encryption. You can pair it with accessories for taking payments at your countertop and on the go, or you can even use our design file to 3D print your own accessories. Stripe Reader works with Terminal's APIs and SDKs to enable you to customize your in-person payments experience and deploy hardware at scale. And it's all seamlessly integrated with the rest of Stripe, so you can create a unified commerce solution for any kind of business.
We're here at 12 Pell, a barbershop located in the heart of Chinatown. Best slice in the city, that's what we call it. When creating the modern barbershop experience, we kind of dialed in on what our lifestyle is like. And because everything is digital for us, we realized we have all the technology that we need already in our hands through our phones.
So for hearts, nothing too high on top. 60-40, 70-30 splits work best.
Tap to Pay is like a feature out of a movie. It's so futuristic and it's one less piece of hardware that we have to worry about as a shop. Being able to pull out your credit card in the chair, tap it to your barber's phone, and walk away with a few clicks of the button is amazing. That seamless technology and the integration with Squire lets us deliver a next level premium experience. We don't have to worry about payments and it allows us to do what we do best, so that your time in the chair is only doing what matters, and that's spending time with your barber and the boys.
Tools such as Food Translate during the event's real-time translation. The restrooms are located outside of the elevators. Left is women's and right is men's. If you need any assistance, feel free to approach our staff members. Anyone wearing a white T-shirt and a badge, we are more than happy to help you today. 欢迎大家，很高兴今天各位来参加我们这次的工程师聚会。我是 Cake 的产品经理，也是今天的主持人 Annie。在活动开始前，我想先说明几个重要事项。 第一点就是本次活动会以英文进行，如果需要，你可以用翻译工具，像是 Google Translate 来做即时的现场翻译。厕所位于电梯的外面，左边是女厕，右边是男厕。那如果你今天需要任何的帮忙，请随时找我们的中更人员，那穿着白色 T 恤，以及他们都有带识别证的同仁们。好，那他们都会很乐意去帮你们提供协助的。Next slide, please. So a quick rundown agenda to give you a picture of what to expect. And please note there's been a quick switch between our first two sessions. So we will first start with an introduction to BB Post's history and vision from their top executives. Next, we'll hear about the vision, mission, and culture of Stripe. Following that, there will be a panel discussion on the future of payment world featuring key leaders from Stripe Terminal and BB Post. We will then have a Q&A session where you can ask questions to our speakers, both in person or virtually from our online sessions. During the coffee break, there will be a time for networking, and we'll also have a professional photographer for a group photo session. After the break, there will be another panel discussion which will focus on BB Post, on how they can facilitate your career, followed by a second Q&A session. Finally, there will be more networking opportunities with specific areas designated for HR, software, SQA, and hardware discussions. Also, just a heads up, we will have a photographer coming capturing moments throughout the event, so you might find yourself in some of our photos. Awesome, so thanks for listening. Now, without further ado, let's give a quick round of applause and welcome Ben Lowe, co-founder and chief product officer at BB Post, and Edward Chen, CEO of BB Post. Ben and Edward will be giving us introduction to BB Post and diving into its history and vision. So Ben, feel free to take it away.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a co-founder of BB Post. The BB Post was founded by me, Jimmy, and Daniel. We all come from the same university in Hong Kong. When we graduated, before we founded BB Post, once we graduated, we founded another company, which is a design house. And then we're working on the first product, say back to 20 years ago. This is the first mobile point of sales. But that period of time, this mobile point of sales costs more than 20,000 Hong Kong dollar. It's very expensive, but it provides a convenience that you don't need to go to the counter to do the checkout. So it's supposed to replace all this legacy POS terminal, but over 6 years, it didn't work. It's not very successful as this is too expensive. So in 2007, when I saw the first iPhone go to the market, and in 2008, when I saw the first Android phone go to the market, I saw the opportunity. So it may be chances for us to come up with something which is going to innovate the market and going to replace this expensive terminal. So how do we do that? Okay, so we come up with an idea of designing a very low-cost mashup card reader, which is plugging into the audio jack of all the smartphone and enable it as a POS terminal by running a payment application in the smartphone. This is how we come up with the idea of mPOS, and we founded BB Post by 2008. When BB Post was founded, there's only 40 staff, and like many other startups, we worked days and nights to come up with the first prototype, and then I personally go to sell the devices. And it's pretty successful. I sold the devices to many large companies, including PayPal, Amazon, Microsoft, so they're all large companies. And in 5 years' time, our company grew from 40 staff to 50 staff. But we didn't stop here, so we keep on innovating. In 2008 till 2013, we come up with the first mPOS. And after that, we also think about other markets. Like by that time, there's a NFC contactless payment and IC card payment. So we come up with the second generation of dongle. And in 2016, we also come up with the idea of the smart POS to integrate Android with the POS terminal. In 2019, we come up with some ruggedized devices and another generation of dongle. With this innovation, we win a lot of customers, which including 7-Eleven, which is quite famous convenience store in Taiwan, Toast, Stripe, Shopify, Intuit. So we win a lot of customers. And in 2022, our company was acquired by Stripe. And I'm going to pass to Ed Chang, our CEO, to talk about.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. 大家下午好。Very happy to have this opportunity to share more about the vision of BBPOS. As Ben said, he and Daniel and the founders have done an amazing job since the company was founded, right, all the way up until now, to where Stripe decided to acquire BBPOS. So first, let me share why did Stripe acquire BBPOS, right? So everyone that knows Stripe, Stripe is one of the leading payments companies, right? However, as Stripe realized, right, they've realized as much as payments are happening on platforms and online, right, in-person payments, in real life payments is still not going away, right? We all understand it's still happening. It might be changing, right? The payment methods might be changing, but in real life payments is still a big part of their strategy. So as part of that, right, the extension of Stripe into the physical world comes through hardware, right? Everyone interacts with hardware, right? And Stripe basically saw that we need a portfolio of hardware solutions, right? Whether it's through first party or third party to be able to meet all of their customers' their needs. And they wanted to have an in-house capability for competitive advantage, right? Basically to make sure the supply chain was stable, to influence design, right? And also make sure that they had the best talent to drive the innovation in hardware. And BBPOS was a natural choice because, as Ben mentioned, right, BBPOS started off as Stripe's partner, right, and was one of the hardware strategic partners, and was already selling Stripe 80% of their hardware. So Stripe acquiring BBPOS was a natural and logical decision a few years ago. And what does BBPOS do today, right? So today, the BBPOS team is a part of Stripe Terminal, right? And Stripe Terminal is the business unit within Stripe that's responsible for in-person payments, right? And extending the commerce interface into the physical world, right? So if we talk about the different teams within BBPOS, right, that are very relevant to our recruiting event today, right? So we have the BBPOS software team. The BBPOS software team is an extension of the Stripe Terminal software team, right? So they work very closely together. They work hand in hand across firmware, ROM, SDK, and our backend platform, right? Also BBPOS hardware, right? Ben showed you all of the great devices that BBPOS has designed, right? And also Rahul will talk about the future devices that are on the Stripe product roadmap. Our hardware team is the main engineering team, the main hardware engineering team for Stripe, right? So right now, BBPOS represents Stripe's primary hardware engineering team. And then we also have our supply chain operations, right? So BBPOS actually manages the entire supply chain end to end, right, for Stripe today. So that is the role of BBPOS in the broader Stripe sense, okay? And then if we look at location, right, we have offices in China, Taiwan, Hong Kong. Most of our staff right now are in Hong Kong and China. We have offices in Thailand and Malaysia. We have representation there because that's where our manufacturing partners are, right? So we truly do have a pan-Asia presence here. And what do we want to do in Taiwan? So what's next together? So our goal is to build BBPOS into a world-class R&D center for Stripe, right? And R&D includes hardware and software, as I just shared, for the different functions within BBPOS, right? But that also means that we want to leverage the tremendous talent pool in Greater China, right? And that brings us to why we're here today, right? BBPOS already has established engineering teams in Hong Kong and China, so our focus now is to scale software and hardware development in Taiwan. We see a tremendous talent pool here. We've been able to hire quickly over the last 6 months, right? And so I'm very excited to be here with all of you today. And I just want to share personally, right? I came to Asia 2007, so I've been here for 17 years, right? My very first project, I was at McKinsey, my very first project was here in Taiwan, right? I was working with a client here in Taiwan. Then I moved to SAP, and then when I was at SAP as a COO, I was the executive sponsor for SAP Taiwan, right? So I've always been very, very supportive and very interested in, basically driving business growth in Taiwan. And then when Stripe told me last year, they said, hey, look, Ed, we want you to open an office in Taiwan and help us build an R&D center. It was a personal, it was great. I was like, well, that's amazing, right? That's something that I really have passion to do, right? So I look forward to meeting and talking to all of you, right, about our opportunities and how we can continue scaling BBPOS overall, specifically in Taiwan. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben and Edward, for that fascinating look into BBPOS. I really love the evolution from 2008 with the products, the team, all the way to where we are now, BBPOS is becoming a world-class R&D center for POS software and software development post Stripe's acquisition. And also a perfect segue into our next discussion, which is please join me in welcoming Rahul, the head of engineering at Stripe Terminal. He will be giving us an introduction to Stripe and its encapsulating vision, mission, and culture.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Rahul. I'm the head of engineering for Terminal and Stripe. First of all, thank you all for taking the time to be with us here on a Saturday. I want to walk you through quickly what Stripe does, how Terminal fits within Stripe, and what it's like to work on. So Stripe's mission is to increase the GDP of the internet. And the way we do that is by building economic infrastructure. Economic infrastructure is a complicated term, so let's unpack that a little bit. You can think of that in 3 layers. At the bottom is payments. At the heart of every business is the ability to accept payments across multiple geographies, across multiple payment methods, from credit cards to wallets to invoices to even paper checks. The layer above that is revenue operations. So once companies have received the money, they need to perform a bunch of operations with that money, right? Like, for example, reporting, revenue recognition, reconciliation, taxes, etc. So that's what the next layer of Stripe offerings offers our customers. And finally, at the top, we have business solutions. These are the solutions that our customers, end customers see. Like, for example, a payment terminal when they accept in-person payments, or billing when they need to sign up for a subscription like you do for Netflix or Amazon Prime. Stripe is truly the backbone of internet businesses. In 2023, Stripe processed over $1 trillion USD through the year. We did that across 100+ payment methods in various geographies around the world. And our fraud system processed billions of data points to make sure Stripe is one of the most secure ways to process payments around the world. And we did that with an availability of 99.999%, which means throughout the entire year, Stripe had around 5 minutes of downtime. Our customers come to rely on us and trust us a lot because of this level of scale that we have. And our customers are some of the most innovative in the world, from disrupting transportation like Uber and Tesla, to mainstays in the office like Slack, Zoom, and Salesforce, and even e-commerce giants like Amazon, who want to partner with us. For example, just last year, Amazon partnered with us in their Just Walkout technology at Marvel Stadium in Australia. So during the game, you can buy your drink and just walk out. No need to pay. That was Amazon JWO technology that was powered by Terminal. Which brings me to Terminal. So what is Terminal? Like Ed mentioned, Terminal is Stripe's in-person payments business. We've talked a lot about the internet, but the fact is 80% of the world's commerce is still in person. But the way that commerce is done has changed. People expect a more seamless interface between online and in-person shopping. For example, buying online, returning in store, or buying online, picking up in store, or when you go to a store and your size doesn't exist, you expect the store to ship it to you, right? People are also ordering food from their couch now, which is that an online transaction or an in-person transaction, kind of debatable. So this is what Terminal brings to Stripe. We want to build seamless omni-channel experiences, and that is the core of our strategy. So what is Terminal? At the core of it, Terminal is 3 things. The first, pre-certified payment terminals. This is the terminals that you typically interact with when you tap your card or insert your card. SDKs that our users use to integrate with the terminals. And then fleet management software to manage the fleet, because some of our users have extremely large fleets of thousands of devices. With the Stripe integration, you can scale your business globally. For example, for one of our users, if they have a business in the US and they want to scale to Canada or the UK or anything. It's two lines of code. Change the country and currency, and change the payment method if you want. If it's credit cards, you don't use just one line change. So that is the power of Terminal, and that's what Stripe Terminal brings to its users. One of the sort of interesting things about Terminal as a result of this is the broad range of technical challenges that it actually offers. On Terminal, we have engineers that work on hardware, firmware, Android OS, mobile SDKs, JavaScript, backend services, and distributed systems. I've worked in the industry for over 20 years, and there are very few places that offer such a breadth of technical challenge to engineers. Obviously, core to in-person payments are the payments terminals, and this is what DBPOS brings to Stripe. We have offerings in multiple form factors, from a compact and affordable Stripe M2 and DBPOS Wisepad 3, which you can talk to over Bluetooth or USB. And full-featured internet-connected Android terminals like the Wisepod and Stripe S700. But also the ability to accept payments on mobile phones with iOS and Android with Tap to Pay. We're also working on our next generation devices and how we can innovate in the in-person payment space. I'm not going to go into this in a ton of detail, but come find us and we're happy to talk to you about this. So before I turn it over back, I want to talk about what it's like to work with Stripe. So I'm going to talk about this across two axes, like how we work and what it would take to be successful. How we work is underpinned by about 5 key principles, the first of which is user first. This is the through line through everything we do at Stripe. We fundamentally believe that if our users succeed, we succeed. And for that, we need to move with urgency and focus. Like you saw in the previous slide, some of the most innovative companies trust Stripe to power their businesses. And we need to work for them. And innovation needs to be fast. But we also need to be meticulous in our craft. It is extremely hard to maintain 99.999% reliability, and we cannot do this without world-class engineering. We also seek feedback. Innovation means change. Innovation means rapid iteration, and we cannot do this without seeking feedback. And finally, deliver outstanding results. Our customers trust us to deliver for them, and execution is paramount. We could have the best strategy in the world. If we cannot execute, it's all for naught. What does it take to be successful? Well, be curious. This is a complex space that is changing constantly. We cannot rest on and while people on the team are deep experts in their areas, these areas are changing very, very rapidly. 5 years ago, who would have said that you could accept payments on your mobile phone? That's something that changed pretty quickly. So the Stripes are always curious, asking questions, understanding, and getting alternate perspectives. And also resilient. When you take on ambitious goals, you're going to fail. Not everything is going to pay off. When we fail, we learn, we dust off ourselves, and we continue. Like one of the biggest things that we do at Stripe is our review process. Whenever we have an outage, whenever we have a failure, we sit down, analyze the situation, take away lessons, both short-term and long-term, and incorporate that into the way we operate going forward. Be humble. Like I said, we processed $1 trillion of payments in 2023. To put that in perspective, that's about 1% of the world's GDP that flowed through Stripe. That's something to be amazingly proud of. But at the same time, there's 99% left. So we're not even close to being done. Humility is extremely important because the moment we get arrogant, the moment we start resting on our laurels, that's the moment we start failing. Macro optimistic. And it's a third thing. I think these are my favorite things about Stripe. Stripe in general are extremely optimistic. Stripe started as a company, as a startup over 10 years ago, trying to disrupt the payment space, a space that was ripe with regulations and incumbents. And look how far we've come. Generally, an extremely optimistic bunch, but also really, really important. We hail from different backgrounds. Stripe has offices in over around 10 countries around the world. Taiwan is only our latest addition. And it's an extremely warm, welcoming place for people from different backgrounds. And we'd love to see more of Taiwan at Stripe. Finally, to close out, thank you all again for taking time on a Saturday to be part of this event. Like I said, we process about 1% of the world's GDP, about 99% to go. I hope many of you will be part of us at this event. Thank you.
So moving on to the next slide. To kick things off, Rahul, can you share with us an overview of the business model behind Stripe Terminal? Additionally, I'm eager to hear and understand how Stripe Terminal can support the growth of BB Post. Perhaps Ed can touch upon that after.
This model of terminal is around three axes. At the most basic, we sell payment terminals, so there's hardware revenue. The second is Stripe keeps a cut, and this is like all of Stripe, keeps a cut of the price we charge merchants for payment processing. And the third we charge software and services fees for our fleet management product. We're also looking into expanding into other revenue streams like total care for like just kind of like Apple Care, which is insurance for the device and so on and so forth. But right now there are three streams, which is hardware revenue, payment processing, and SaaS fees for management.
So how can Stripe Terminal benefit the growth of BB Post? So as you saw from Ben's presentation, right, we have the founders and the originators of MPOS technology, right? So BB Post has always gone hand in hand with innovation, and having basically Stripe now or being part of Stripe gives BB Post the support and coverage to drive even more innovation, but on a very, very focused roadmap. Right, and it also allows BB Post to really recruit the talent that we really want, right? So we're competing with the top technology companies, right here in Taiwan, and being part of Stripe Terminal allows us to do that, right? It allows us to attract the talent that we need to help drive the innovation and the next generation products that we want to bring to market.
Well, that actually ties into my next question really well. So Ed, can you delve into the BB Post plans for expanding to Taiwan with us, as well as Rahul, can you also touch upon the goals you'd like to achieve through establishing an engineering team in Taiwan?
Sure. So as I mentioned in my presentation, right, our vision is to build BB Post into an R&D center, right? Rahul also said that, like an R&D center. And so why is Taiwan so important about that? Because we were, last year, we were looking to scale our firmware team. Right, we were looking to hire in Hong Kong. We looked for about 8 months. We probably only have like 1 or 2 qualified candidates, right? I'm not talking about offers, right? I'm just talking about candidates that we felt were qualified, right? So then we said, let's open the search into Taiwan, right? Within 4 months, we had hired like three firmware engineers, right? So it's just so clear that the talent pool in Taiwan, given the concentration of high-tech companies here, goes basically, it aligns perfectly, right, with our vision to build BB Post into an R&D center, right? And we're very confident that we can achieve that. I mean, and once again, just so you know, last year I was here looking for an office, right? And I chose the largest office space that I could find, and it's already too small, right? So it's a good problem to have, right? And I look forward to continuing to expand our presence here in Taiwan.
Yeah, big plus one to what Ed said. The density of talent here is truly amazing. In terms of our engineering goals here, we are looking to build a center of excellence for our device stack. We are not going to hire in the US or Europe for anything in our device stack. That's all going to be based in Asia, Hong Kong, and here. So that's firmware engineering, hardware engineering, Android OS, SDKs, That in the back end, like the fleet management stack of the back end, that's all going to be based out of here. We're looking to build a world-class engineering company.
Awesome. So I know we do have a really high time listening talent. I'm sure a lot of candidates who are presented today are interested in knowing, like, what are the key differentiators between BBPOS as well as other POS companies? Maybe Ben can kick us off.
Okay, so I would say innovation and opportunity to learn the whole payment ecosystems. So since I founded BBPOS, I never work on any Me2 product to compete on price. So I keep on innovating. So innovation is basically the DNA of BBPOS as well. And being part of Stripe right now, you have so our devices is highly integrated in the Stripe payment systems. So you have the opportunity to learn the whole payment process from start to the end.
Plus one depends on innovation. The innovative aspect of BBPOS is like a big part of why Stripe acquired BBPOS. But I think one thing that's fundamentally different between BBPOS and Stripe and any of the other point of sale companies is point of sale companies sell hardware. That's their business. They're looking to make money off of that. We are not looking to sell hardware. We are looking to sell payment solutions. And like I mentioned, in-person payments is rapidly changing. The line between online and in-person is blending. And that's sort of selling that experience, allowing our users to provide the selling experiences that they want to provide to their users is sort of what differentiates us. For example, like I mentioned earlier, the just walk out technology that Amazon wanted to pioneer at Marvel Stadium in Australia, in Melbourne. Those are the kind of things that Stripe sells and not necessarily payment terminal itself. Payment terminal, don't get me wrong, is an integral part of it. None of this exists without the payment terminal. But that is not the be all and end all of the entire thing. So that is just the starting point. And the entire ecosystem around that is what Stripe sells.
I would say one of the key differentiators we have, the combination of Stripe and BBPOS is time to market, right? As I said, BBPOS is can move quickly, but with the support and foundation of Stripe, right? So I take our example of our Taiwan office, right? So from when Rahul and I first discussed that we want to open an office in Taiwan, to when we actually had an office signed, lease ready, and we were hiring, it was 6 months, right? So that is extremely fast, right? And we can still move that quickly, right? So basically, we recognize where we have to move quickly to meet our objectives, and very confident that we can do that faster than any of the other competitors in the field.
So I know Ben mentioned earlier about innovation and also Ed mentioned about like speed to market. I'm curious, can you maybe further elaborate with us how BBPOS plans to innovate within the mobile payment industry, particularly in response to the emerging trends such as contactless payment and digital wallets? Maybe Ben can start first and we can add on.
Okay, so this new digital payments platform provide convenience, but at the same time, it also weighs some security concerns. So in BBPOS, we focus on security is one of the areas we focus. The second thing is this new payment method is about how you pay, but during the checkout process, I'm pretty sure that the merchant will ask you, well, how you want to pay, whether you want to use Live Pay or Apple Pay or other method. So we also want to seamlessly integrate all of that to provide better user experience. So if you don't know what payment method you use, you don't need to answer this question again and again. So
yeah. Also, I think a big part of this is sort of influencing the standards bodies. Payments is known to have a bunch of standards bodies like PCI, TFE, etc. And Stripe is deeply involved with all of those. We've been actively shaping a bunch of regulation around this. We're one of the first companies to build a prototype of what it's like to accept payments on an Android device. And we continue to work with the PCI Council on evolving that standard. So using BBPOS's innovation and technical expertise and Stripe's deep relationships with the standards bodies, I think makes it a very powerful combination.
So thank you to our three panelists for the insightful answers and helping us kick off our discussion. So now we'd like to open the floor to our audience for any questions, as well as our online audience too. So for our in-person audience, feel free to raise your hand if you have any questions that you are curious about asking our today's panelists. And we give the mic to you once you raise your hand. So while our in-person crowd is still thinking, we can ask a question from our online audience first. So question number one is, what are the short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans of the Taiwan team in the future?
Sure, happy to answer the question. So short-term, medium-term, and long-term plans. So I think short-term plans is, as I've mentioned several times, is we need to scale the team, right? As Rahul shared, we have a very full product roadmap and commitments to our customers, right, that we need to meet. And also, as Rahul said, right, we are looking to scale that team in Asia, right, exclusively, right? So we need to get that team up and running. Wei Ming and the team who you meet later has really done a great job scaling the team, but we need more people. So short term, it's to scale, it's to scale and hire talented people, right? And I'm looking at a room full of them right now, right? Number one. Medium term is to get everything integrated into our basically our development plans, right? So we've got to get the people on board, and then we have to get them productive and efficient, right? And we're in the process of rolling out a lot of internal things between collaboration between BBPOS and Stripe. That's going to make the co-development much more efficient and faster. So instead, really to put in the infrastructure and scale to make sure the R&D center can be effective, right? And then long term, Rahul also alluded to this. Long term, then Taiwan, and BBPOS becomes like a world-class R&D center, right? For the payment stack, right? That's and the device stack, and that's kind of where we want to go, right? And we're here to start with that.
Yeah, I think from an ops perspective, and there's one of the key points. I think from a roadmap perspective, we have some of the devices that you saw, on the presentation. They need to support more currencies, more payment methods, more countries. So there's a bunch of work around that. So the short term, from a product roadmap perspective, expanding the current portfolio to more geographies, adding more features like cellular support, and so on and so forth. And then as we get long term, one of the things that gets really interesting is payments is moving out of this static form factor where it's something that's on a counter. You walk up and you pay, and it's getting to more sort of payment, more sort of seamless payment experiences, if you will, like tablet chip form factors, the ability to like run applications on those devices and so on and so forth. So there's an element of like understanding from our users what their evolving needs are and sort of going from there.
Okay, thank you. 所以现场观众如果想要提问的话，可以举手。然后 ，OK, awesome.
Hello, I'm the headhunter in Taiwan, and I'm recruiting for embedded software and talent in Taiwan. And I found that when I finding talent, lots of talent like in Taiwan want to join the server AI server and IC design house or like Google and Amazon. So how do we post to attract the people to join the payment industry and post like the device development? So I want to ask the question how to attract the people. We let them know the innovative and the future development in Taiwan of the BBPOS.
Yeah. If I answer the question correctly, the question is like how do we attract talent to BBPOS and Stripe? What are the areas for innovation? I'm going to half answer that question and then leave the rest of it for the next panel where we're going to talk about why BBPOS and Stripe are great places to develop your career server, that one. But I think one of the biggest things that I will say about the payments industry is the nature of the internet is fundamentally changing. If you look at, I know, 15 years ago, like everything was powered by ads. But as the internet has evolved, privacy regulations across the world have tightened, and you start seeing more and more payment-based models. Now, most of the services right now are paid. And then there's also a ton of innovation in the payment space in general. Like for example, 10 years, even 10 years ago, it was like either you paid with your bank or you paid with a credit card or a debit card of some sort. But right now, there are a ton of like buy now, pay later kind of buy now, pay later type solutions. Like in this part of the world, it's hard to go anywhere without running into the digital wallets like WeChat Pay, Apple Pay, Line Pay, Grab Pay, etc. But there is a vast proliferation of payment methods and a lot of innovation in that space. Finally, the biggest thing is as much as like you talk about AI companies, I forget the exact stat, but I think 85% of AI companies are on Stripe. OpenAI is on Stripe. Anthropic's on Stripe. All of them need to reach a worldwide audience, and that is an incredibly hard problem. And so, as much as like AI, this is one of the interesting things. The way to think about Stripe is in many ways think about AWS. Like AWS, it underpins a lot of businesses in the world, and as much as anyone uses ChatGPT in any part of the world, they have paid through Stripe, otherwise they will not be able to use it.
So you mentioned that IC industry. So IC is an interesting industry because the IC will be appearing in every electronic product. But I want to say that payment is also a more interesting industry, as payment is the mother of all industry. So all merged with all industry, you have to talk about payments. So this is a highly interesting industry that I believe that everyone will be interested about, learn more about the payment.
Hello. Okay, awesome. Any other questions in the audience?
Hi. Yeah, so you mentioned hiring for firmware and for hardware, and I'm wondering if you have a plan for Taiwan to build around the Stripe terminal product. Will you also hire for some of the core software roles in Stripe, maybe like fraud detection, like you mentioned, or you mentioned that there's some fleet management and stuff like that, which would also require some backend services. So yeah, I'm wondering what like the plan for Taiwan is, maybe short term and medium.
Yeah. So the entire device stack, so that includes fleet management. So definitely. So in terms of let's put it on, let's say profiles, it's hardware, firmware, Android, backend, mobile SDKs, JavaScript, coding, right? But right now focus on the sector business in the, I'm going to call it medium term, right? In my experience starting offices around the world, you want to actually concentrate talent in a few areas. Making a sustainable office means that you have a group of people working on the same thing. It's very difficult when you have like 3 people working on one product, 4 people working on a different product, to build a sense of cohesion and build a high functioning office. It's actually very difficult. So in the medium term, I'm going to say we're going to be focused on the terminal product and getting this office up to like a decent enough scale, and then we kind of like think, okay, then we probably get a second product, which is probably done with JSON. I think one of the things that can be interesting is onboarding and global expansion is like sort of a natural kind of next step, and with that then comes like fraud, because onboarding and fraud kind of go hand in hand, and they're very localized and so on and so forth. So if I had to predict, that's probably what it looks like. But for the medium term, let's call it year, 18 months, at the very least, until we establish like a decent sized office and this culture here, like a solid culture here, I think it's done.
Awesome. So before we get to you, we have another online question. It's actually a 2-part question. So the first is, what's the market positioning of the Taiwan team? And do Stripe and BBPOS plan to provide services in Taiwan?
So the question is, what is the positioning of the Taiwan team, right, within Stripe and BBPOS? And then Rahul will answer the question about providing payment services in Taiwan. So in terms of the positioning, right, as Rahul said, right, we are building the full terminal stack engineering team, center of excellence here in Asia, right, specifically Hong Kong and Taiwan, right? So Taiwan is a core critical part of that, right? We have a team now in Hong Kong already. We need to expand that team, and we can't expand that team and hire quickly enough in Hong Kong, right? So we are doing that now in Taiwan. And as Rahul said, right, the midterm objective is to get a significant scale for those terminal engineering roles, right? And then we can look for adjacencies after that. But the objective is for Taiwan to be a critical part of our development center here.
As for Taiwan, right now a lot of people like 2025 and 2026 are likely going to be big years for Stripe in Asia in general, and Taiwan is obviously a critical part of that. The way Stripe generally thinks about getting into markets is kind of like a three-pronged strategy or a three-stage strategy, if you will. One is importers, which is global companies that want to sell into the market. This is like your Shopify, like OpenAI, Figma, Slack, Zoom, etc., that want to provide services here. So that's probably what you'll see. So Stripe will be in Taiwan and you won't know it, I guess is what I'm saying, because you'll be using Zoom or any of these things that will just be powered by Stripe and you won't know it. And then the second thing that Stripe generally does is exporters, which is like Taiwanese companies that want to sell to the rest of the world. I think one of the big ones we have right now is on like Shein, Temu, and like selling to the rest of the world. That is sort of the usually winds up being the second stage, and then the third stage is domestic, which is Taiwanese companies selling to Taiwanese residents, and that tends to be the most complicated. So Stripe is in a bunch of countries that people don't know Stripe is in because they consume Stripe through other consumer-facing products. But if I had to predict how Stripe winds up in Taiwan, it's probably in those places where Stripe comes to Taiwan to establish global brands, then Stripe powers well-known Taiwanese brands, and then it's more intra-Taiwan business.
So I know a young lady in the back has a question earlier. Do you answer your question? Awesome. Anyone else have a question in person before we move back to the online questions? 还有问题吗？在我们的观众席这边，没有的话，我先用我们线上问题喽。Okay, so another online question is, what is the biggest challenge of integrating BB Post system into the Stripes ecosystem?
Excellent question. Something that I've been working on for the last 3 years, right? So there are Stripe security, Stripe cybersecurity has some very, very specific regulations that we look at when we integrate our systems, right? So one of the things that we've been doing so far is BBQuast and Stripe systems have been separate, right? However, that is where Taiwan plays a bigger role in that, right? So starting this year, we're actually able to extend access into our Stripe team here in Taiwan that we wouldn't normally have in Hong Kong and China. So that means that our Taiwan team will be able to do a lot more collaboration, have a lot more access to a lot of the systems on the Stripe side than we had historically. And so that's also one of the progressions that we've done in our integration and our collaboration with these countries.
In addition to the technical challenges and security challenges Ed mentioned, one of the things that's actually always challenging when you start a new office, it doesn't matter where, Taiwan is one example, is how do you build a place that's high quality and that people in the area want to come and work at. Work culture is different in different countries, and trying to kind of cargo cult or like lift and shift an American work culture into a local context doesn't work. At the same time, companies definitely have their own culture that is what makes them successful. And sort of making that sort of like hitting that intersection can be complicated and it takes time. Right. For example, to give you sort of an example, there are things like our operating principles that we talked about on my slide, like focus on execution, like moving quickly. Those are things that should be true no matter which type of office and which geography. There's probably elements of Taiwanese work culture that make an office in Taiwan really, really great to work at, and also need to kind of be preserved and brought to the table. So that's kind of like there's simple things, right? Like it's extremely simple things. I'll give you an example of the India office. In the India office, like tea and a snack at like between 3:30 and 4 is just a thing. And any office that doesn't have that is going to be viewed weirdly. That's just part of the culture. We don't have that in the US. Being like, you're going to do tea and snacks in the US, people are going to look at you strange. And you don't do tea and snacks in India, people are going to look at you strange. So there's elements of that, right? And this is again why we want to be intentional about how we grow this office. Get to like a critical mass where like everyone is like, yeah, this everyone. Unless everyone in the office is literally telling their friends, what are you doing? Why aren't you working at Stripe? Like, you haven't succeeded in building a successful office, right? And I think that's what we're going for. That's hard. It takes time.
So another question from the online crowd is, the current payment terminal market in Taiwan is highly competitive and saturated, with distributors demanding very high profits. What advantages do you have that convince so many distributors to promote your products?
Yeah. Like I said earlier, right? Like we are not in the payment terms of selling business. We are in the business of selling Stripe services. We can operate at much smaller margins than any of our competitors because we don't need to make that much money off the hardware. We have like literally 4 ways of making money in Google. We have hardware revenue, we have payment markup, we have software services fees, and we have total care. We have like 4 prongs to make money. So we don't have to make money off of one. And a lot of Stripe deals when we sit down with the sales team and look at like how are you selling it? It's not like, okay, this is what's on the sticker, go sell it this way. There's often negotiation around some of these things. More interestingly, terminal is very rarely sold in isolation. So all of those Stripe products that I showed you, like they're all sold in combination. And one of the things that makes Stripe so powerful is all of these work well together. So again, you don't need to make money off the hardware alone. We have other opportunities. We don't need to make money off of terminal alone. We have other opportunities as well. Like for example, very common example, you will sell a payment terminal or you will sell terminal to the gym. So the gym also has subscriptions. So we have the opportunity of making money off the subscriptions as well. So we have broad product portfolio which allows us to build the custom tailored fee structure that actually makes sense for our customers and makes sense for us. Right? I think it goes back to like the thing that I mentioned is like users first is a through line to everything that we do. If our users win, we'll win. We'll make money.
Yeah. Any questions from the audience before I ask the online audience again? Okay, we're going to take one last question before we move on to the networking portion, which I believe a lot of people are more interested in doing the one-on-one questioning. So one final question, can you share with us some of the technology challenges we face?
Yeah. I know they're going to respond this in the next panel, and also come down to us for more detail. But I think there are a few very clear challenges that we face. One is firmware in and of itself is an extremely challenging space, right? Like as we expand to more countries and more payment methods, that's more code you need to stuff in a really small footprint. So that in and of itself is a pretty big technical challenge. On the Android and the OS and app front, you saw there a portfolio of devices. If you build a custom stack for each of those, that's going to be extremely untenable. You need to kind of have a kind of software platform that can scale across a variety of devices. That said, on the hardware and pretty much across the stack, we're looking to innovate on the hardware space. So like that thing is rapidly changing. So how do we build quickly, build cheap, and try out different form factors that will work in the market is another big challenge. And then finally, like I mentioned previously, our customers now want to run their applications on these devices. They don't want to have like an iPad and a separate payment terminal. They want it all in one product, which kind of leads us to having to build sort of a version of somewhere between like mobile device management and an app store for our devices, which is a significant challenge because of a variety of the PCI concerns that PCI security concerns that exist on these devices. So there's a bunch of technical challenges. If you're interested in talking about any of these in detail, we're more than happy to chat with you. Come find us.
Thank you so much, Rahul. Okay, please help me give a round of applause to our three panelists, Ben, Mabu, and Ed, for the great sharing. Great. Now can I get everyone's quick attention for the next step? Before we move on to our Netflix session, we want to do a quick photo session. So can our three speakers get back to the seats? And for our staff members and attendees, please merge into the middle a bit for us to take a picture from the stage. co-founder and chief hardware officer of BB Post. Wayman Lin, head of BB Post Taiwan. Abraham, staff software engineer at Stripe Terminal. And Martin, staff software engineer at Stripe Terminal as well. Great. Very cute, isn't it? Awesome. So let's move on to the next slide, and we'll begin our discussion with Annie picking up the questions, and we'll now open up to our floor shortly afterwards, both in person and online. So to start our discussion, I'd like to delve into each of your career journeys. Could you share career development before joining BBPOS or Stripe? And also, what was the factor that influenced your career journey? Maybe I start with Daniel, who's sitting the furthest from me, and then we'll move to the next person for the next sharing.
Actually, I was working in BB Post as the hardware architect, but before joining BB Post, actually I started my career as a software engineer. At that time, I developed software and firmware for a few years until one day Ben told me that he has some very interesting thing to do and share with me. But what he said is, but he is a hardware person. So I decided to take a challenge to be that hardware person. Actually, the most critical factor that affect all of my business, the career choices. Actually, I like to design something and make it work, whether it is hardware, it is software. So I'm very lucky that throughout the years, I'm working on my interests.
大家好. I'm very new to BBPOS for relatively. I joined BBPOS in January this year. And before that, I worked in Amazon for close to 14 years. I came back to Taiwan in April 2019 because I had this great opportunity to establish a development center in Taiwan. And turns out that it was a great success. We actually become a very kind of a world class center. So I'm hoping that we can do this again. My career kind of has, what did I use for my kind of a decision for the next company? I always feel that a meaningful job will give me very good sense of kind of the vision and a sense of responsibility. I guess in Chinese it's kind of like 使命感, it sounds kind of very fancy, but really, I want to make sure that the work I do, will help people, making their life easier and also making their kind of future better. If we can do that together, I feel that's probably the ultimate goal of the career. I found that, when I was in Amazon, and I believe that I will also find the same thing here. Thank you.
Yes, so I've been working at Australia for about 3.5 years. Before Stripe, I worked at some very big tech companies in the US. And I started out as a software developer working on client-side software, actually, and then I started to stretch more and more into doing both client-side software and also backend services. And that's something that's been very interesting to me over the course of my career is finding opportunities to work on the full stack and not just on like one specific piece or one specific component. And so coming to Stripe, I thought was a great opportunity to do more of that, both by learning about the fintech space and developing skills in that area, but also working for a company where part of our vision is to provide the full stack for our users. Right in the terminal organization, we work on everything from the hardware to the firmware, SDKs, all the way up to the backend services that power the devices and payments. And that's something very appealing to the proposal.
Yeah, so I'll kind of go through I'll give you a little bit of both at the same time. So career journey, after I graduated, I went to school in Canada, and after I graduated at university there, I moved out to the US to work at Apple in California. I was there for a year and a half or so. And one of my friends told me about. Actually, a payments company. So I was one of the fairly early engineers at one of our competitors, I swear. And I was a supplier for about 5 years. After that, I decided I really I got a lot of value out of it. I really enjoyed working there. I wanted a bit of a change of pace, and so I ended up joining Instagram. So I was at Instagram for little buzzer. Okay, cool. I was at Instagram for like a couple of years, working on or a couple of years. Really enjoyed it there too. But talking to one of my friends who had just joined Stripe recently and told me that Stripe was actually building out terminal and in-person payments offering, and I thought that would be a really great opportunity to get back into the payment space. And I've been there for coming up on 4 years now. And I think that the thing that I really enjoy about payments, and the reason I wanted to get back to the payment space and why Stripe is such a great opportunity, is that payments is one of the really cool industries where we make money when our customers make money. And so everything that we do, whether that's like payments processing or any of our ancillary services, we build products to help companies grow and be more successful. And when they are more successful, so are we. Got it?
Awesome. Thanks, Trevor, for taking us a walk through your career history. I definitely align with Franklin's earlier take about finding a sense of purpose to work, and also love meeting a fellow Canadian. Okay. So next, moving on to my next question. I'm curious, what do each of you enjoy about working at BB Post or Stripe, and what are the main challenges you face at work? Start again, maybe from Martin or this way. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I kind of went into it a little bit there at the very end about how I really enjoy how what we do helps our customers. In terms of the day-to-day, what I really enjoy about working at Stripe Baby Boss is that it's honestly the sense of ownership that people have over the product. One of the core things that we had at Meta is the sense of nothing is anybody else's problem, and I really found that working at Stripe as well. I feel like when people notice that there's something wrong, when there's an issue, they don't just kind of wait for someone else to pick it up and fix it later. They find out how they can fix it themselves, or they figure out who's responsible and push that forward as well. Similar to Abraham, it's great working on being able to work on the entire stack of a product. That was one of the things that attracted me to an Apple back in the day. Actually having control over the entire product offering really lets you build the best possible experience for your customers. And so that's something that you guys do. I think that's really great. In terms of the main challenges, I think the biggest area that just for me specifically is mobile engineering. Challenges one of the things that Stripe has a huge back-end presence. We have a lot of engineers that work primarily on back-end technologies. One of the things that we have to figure out more of on our own as a smaller mobile team is we can't reuse as much of that infrastructure. So sometimes we have to build those things ourselves. We have to build our own developer productivity teams. We've invested in that heavily over the last couple of years, and the trajectory has been fantastic. But that's just one of the areas that I think is can be a bit of a challenge. It's just kind of the reality of working on a smaller mobile team within a much larger organization that specializes in online products.
And yeah, plus one to everything that Martin said. One reason that I really like working at Stripe is the amount of customer focus that we have to have. Like Martin said, we make money when our users make money. And it's really different working in a B2B business to business space than it is when we're selling things to customers. Businesses have very different needs. They're very not shy about telling you about those needs. And you hear very good, very direct feedback. And I really enjoy being in a space where we take the time to listen, and we have to listen in order to make sure that we're building the right thing for our users. One of the challenges I think that we face that I feel a lot is there is so much still to do. And there are so many things that we could be doing that we have to be very, very almost ruthless in prioritizing, which of all of these things that we could do is going to be really the most impactful for our users. What's going to be the most impactful thing right now? What's going to be the most impactful thing for the future? And so I've learned a lot about how you prioritize, how you think about the future of the user's needs in working at this company in the past couple of years.
I'm going to use a very different angle to talk about this one. I think they are quite more relevant to the audience. Two things I like the most about working in this environment is number one is this respect. The company actually is respecting everybody's opinion. It doesn't matter what kind of the positions or levels. Those who in front, they can grab for very meaningful, even for the argumentative kind of discussion. As long as you are thinking is a kind of data-driven discussion, they will listen, and also they will tell you yes or no or maybe, but they will certainly have that kind of patience talking about this. I found that was probably, I thought it was normal all the time because I used to work in the US. And coming back, I learned so many kind of counter instances that people say, oh, no, we cannot talk to them because that's kind of up there. We don't think that they want to listen to us. That's definitely not true here because in Australia. So that's number one. And number two is about this two-way trust. Okay. Company actually trust us for doing the right thing. So they kind of like, say, just go ahead, because we know that you can achieve this. At the same time, all the employees can trust the company because we know that company is going to create this environment for us to grow to the next level and this amount of distraction. That's what everybody wants to have, right? You don't want to come here and feel that, God, I'm going to go to a stupid place, doing stupid things, and wasting my time. That's not going to happen. And that's always what I want to make sure that I have. Now, in terms of challenge, following the same thing, I think, being able to solve the problem completely, is always a goal. Everybody knows. But along the way, we're going to have so many temptations to say, just get it fixed, and let's move on, right? It happens all the time. Luckily, we have this kind of environment. Make sure that we not only fix the problem, we also find the root cause, and make sure that we understand the problem, we fix the root cause of the problem, and we learn it, and then we move on, so that it will not happen again in the immediate future. I think that's the challenge part for everybody, and we are lucky enough to have this kind of environment to help us move into that direction.
The thing I most enjoy in working in BBPost is about the collaboration between BBPost different teams and also with the shop teams. For example, when there is some problem or some decisions, we will listen to anybody from different background, different culture, different teams. And there's always something to inspire me. I can think in this way. I can find a solution in such a way. This is the part that I learned a lot during the last 2 years working with Strap. The challenging part is Ed mentioned about that it's very difficult to find firmware people in Hong Kong. But to find hardware people is 10 times more difficult. Yeah, and because before some acquired BBPost, we think our standard is already very high. But when we acquired by Strap, is the standard that the requirements is even a lot higher. And we try to meet this the standard, but we need more talent. And this is why we started. I
always love asking about culture questions because I get to learn so much about both BBPost and Stripes, just knowing the cultural values. But also, I saw a lot of smiles and head nods in the audience listening to the great culture at both BBPost and Stripes. So I'm very glad to see. But moving on to our next question, there's also a question I believe our audience is very interested in learning more about is what are some of the most critical roles BBPost currently hiring for in Taiwan? Maybe Wei can touch upon that. And also, Daniel, can you maybe walk us through afterwards the technical landscape at BBPost and how these roles would interact with the Stripe engineering team?
I will cover the software part. That's kind of our main focus right now. And maybe also Daniel can also cover the hardware part. Right now, because Rahul and Dad mentioned that our intermediate goal is try to expand the team to be able to cover these kind of all the labels on the device and also interfacing the device. So we are looking for way engineers, we are looking for enrollment engineers, and then campaign engineers, and also the QA teams. We need that kind of thing to ensure that we have a high quality output. So those areas are our main focus right now. But down the road, when we are able to pick up our candidates, they're going to go up, to the next level. I think, there will be front end, back end, or social engineers, and they will be kind of a great addition to our effort. So those are the things that we are working on.
And we are building post terminal and with some of the special aspects of the post terminal is about data security and also about the compatibility with different payment schemes. We need a lot of these talents. But on the other hand, just as Wahoo showed in his slides, that now the payment terminals looks more like a mobile phone. It feels like, looks like, and looks like some mobile device. And it creates a lot of challenge for us to develop our new system, new terminals. We need a lot of experts Android in hardware development that can make the device to be slim, to be waterproof, to be just like a normal device you expect.
So, okay, so now that we know what type of roles are being hired for the talent team, can you guys maybe go over the key competencies you look for in candidates during technical interviews and any tips you might want to have? Next slide. Great. Okay. And any tips you might have for those when it comes to preparing for those interviews? Maybe Abraham Martin could kick us off on the key competencies being looked for.
Yeah, so like a lot of software companies, we have a very structured interview process. And so in some interviews, we're looking at technical skills, and some interviews we're looking at more sort of leadership skills, and we really want to see all of those in successful candidates. One important thing is for technical interviews, we're really looking at ability to solve a problem, not ability to use a very specific technology. So, ability to think about what's the right way to solve something and the right implementation is usually a lot more important than, well, I want to fit in a very specific, technology, or I want to use a very specific data structure because it's the most complicated one, and that's what complicated tech companies are looking for. We're really looking for the ability to solve problems first, and then use the right technology.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way of describing it. I think what we do with our interviews process is maybe a little bit different than some of the other tech companies that tend to focus really on like algorithms in interviews. And so for people like interview at other tech companies, one of the things friends come to me and like, hey, like I'm looking to interview, like what should I do to prepare? And I always tell them like, go do a bunch of lead code questions, right? And just like bang out a lot of like different challenges. I don't think that is nearly as relevant in the interview process that we have. I think we tend to bias towards like real world experience and like the solving the kind of problems that you would actually solve like day to day, right? I don't think we necessarily want to see like Dijkstra's algorithm in like 5 minutes, right? Like that's not super helpful day to day. Like if I see people doing that at the office, I have concerns. I mean, we have to talk together about why that's probably not the right way of solving that problem to work. And then, so I would say the other thing that we look for is for people to like bring us along through their thought process as they solve problems. So this is like really important for us. Like, it's one thing to be able to like go through our question and then, turn off your microphone and then come back to us with a complete solution in like 10 or 15 minutes. Like that's great, but that's only part of what we're looking for. We want to hear you like share with us like what you're thinking and how you're thinking about the problem. Like tell us why you are picking certain solutions. If there is a point in the interview where you're like, okay, like there are a couple of different ways for me to solve this, tell us what they are, and then tell us like what the trade-offs are, and then pick one, right? It doesn't have to be the one that like we would necessarily pick ourselves if you can make a good and reasonable case and walk us through it and explain why. Right? So I think that's a little bit of a like, that's the answer to kind of both of the questions, right? Which is what are we looking for, and also like what's a good tip.
Hope you guys have been jotting some notes down because they shared some really good gems just now. Awesome. We've gone to the next slide. One final question from my end before we wrap up and open the floor for our Q&A from the audience. Abraham and Martin, having now been on the other side of the recruitment process, any interview preparation tips you also like to offer our wonderful talents who are seeing it here today?
I think, like Mark said, focus on bringing us through, the process and explaining, what you're doing. I think for things like preparation, if you are planning to do an interview in a specific programming language, it's good to know that language in a pretty good level of depth, and especially to know what kind of libraries or helpers might be available to help you solve the problem. We don't expect everyone to know everything by heart, but if you're using C, for example, and you know that there's a library that can do something for you, that can give you an indication of something that maybe you should ask the interviewer about, or that it should look up during the interviews to help you solve the problem. And so having a level of expertise in the language that you're going to be using during the interview is super, super helpful for
Yeah, I was trying to think through like what I would recommend specifically to prepare. I mean, I said that like we don't necessarily value specifically like big problems, but just like it's still something I'm gonna do anyway. Just because like it's a different environment, right? Like if you are sort of like on the spot, you have to like solve something within like a constrained period of time with like limited access to your resources, and like simulating that environment and being comfortable with it is really important. Less for the like learn these algorithms in order to be successful, but more for like replicate the environment that you're going to experience in the interview process. And something you can even try to do is like, we were talking about this, like Abraham and I have interviewed probably like 1,500 people over the last like 10 years in the various tech companies we've worked at each. Like we've done a lot of interviews, but we were actually in the office, we're doing like a mock interview setup where one of my coworkers interviewed me on the spot to show people like what the interview process looks like. I did not get a strong yes across the board. Let me tell you. I got the job. They told me I could still come back to work, so I was very happy about that. But there were definitely moments where I was sitting there going like, is this what we put people through? Like it's very different when someone is like looking at you and you are like on the spot answering the question. So I would say like try and find ways to recreate that environment. If you have friends who interview people at other tech companies, ask them to interview you. If you like, I would like do programming exercises, like limit the amount of time, like do some Lego problems, like stuff like that. It's going to help a lot. Even if it's not exactly what we're looking for, like that is going to help you be more successful when you get there.
So to our audience, this is the perfect time to say hi to the person next to you and start doing mock interviews together. Okay. Then Daniel and Wayman, as part of the recruiting team who's actively working on building the engineering team in Taiwan, any other insights or tips you have to share with our audience based on how they can prepare for the interview process?
This is going to add a lot from fundamentals. I think we want to make sure that you understand technology basics and also the basic computer science knowledge. We know that right now a lot of the basic words are also new technologies and that the new paradigm uses they're all very fancy, they're kind of advanced. But at the end, in Stripe because we want to make sure that you have a very solid foundation to start with. And that way, we can build out a lot of good things on top of that. So that's one. The other one is it's quite interesting that most of the candidates they don't like sharing their kind of results in the process. They want to work on things, kind of very quiet and everything. What are we finishing? And you look at the result and say, how would you make this and that? They start talking about this, but somebody forgot the why. I think there's a term it's called speak out loud. Kind of when you are thinking out loud and so on. When you are working on things, make sure that you share your thoughts with others so that they can understand why you're doing this. I believe that it's much more important then you just give the answers. This is great, but how do you do this? You cannot get why that's the case. So that's one. And also try to make sure that you can prove that you can learn things fast. Very few of our team members in high-level focus have so-called payment benefit. We almost come from very kind of a different kind of kind of industries. That's has a very little kind of relevance to payment. When we finished the interview process and the striving process decided to hire us because of this, they say that we know that we should have that ability to learn fast. So we want to put there and ask them for them. And I believe that we make the right choice. So make sure that during the interview process, you can also demonstrate this kind of capability that I believe fast. Learning, demonstrating that capability is not just saying, I can learn fast. In the process, when you think out loud, you have interaction, interviews, they can actually use the opportunity to be coming back to really need to do so. That's a very important kind of factor for you to demonstrate. So make sure that keep that.
Sometimes for the interview, I find that some interviewee they want to show off a lot of things they know, but actually the most important is to understand the question correctly and give the spot-on answer. Yeah, because the interview time is limited, and we want to assess really have the in-depth knowledge of something instead of just getting the surfaces. Another thing, the last advice is don't need to put too much time for dressing for the interview.
Two more really quick tips just to kind of add on to that. One, always ask clarifying questions. So this is exactly what this just kind of like ties into that same point. Understand the problem. It is absolutely okay to ask us questions as you are going through. If you don't understand something, just ask. That's expected. Like we look for that as well. Like we would rather you ask us questions than start going off and answering the wrong question and having us jump in and be like, hey, no, come back here. The other thing, if you're given a choice of programming language, this is gonna sound silly, do the one you know best, not the one that you think like we're looking for. That is very surprising. Some people like, I have like 20 years of experience in like Java, and they get to the interview and they're like, I'm gonna do Kotlin. I'm like, why? They're like, well, we thought it would be like, we thought that's what you were looking for. I'm like, no, I want to see you show off how good you are. And if you like you should use the language that you are not as familiar with, you are not going to do as well on the interview. I know it sounds silly, but like I've seen so many candidates like get this very simple thing wrong. Just show us show off like the programming language and the environment that you are most comfortable with, and then we can figure it out from there.
Well, that perfectly ties into our segue to the audience to see if there's any questions from our in-person crowd or our online crowd. So if you have any questions, again, feel free to raise your hand and let us know and to join the conversation. 所以如果我们现场观众有想提问的问题，欢迎你们直接去举手，然后我们的麦这边会把麦克风递给你们。好，然后现在也是可以先直接去发问你们的问题。那我也要看一下，因为现场跟线上的。Okay, so we'll go with the online questions first. For software-related positions, is English communication a necessary requirement, or is it sufficient to have professional English skills related to the field? Yes.
All right. I think this is a very simple question I was asked during the break. Language is a tool. It helps us to deliver our thoughts and also to to strike a meaningful, useful conversation. So keep that in mind. We are not asking you to write a huge. We're not asking you to write something, but we want to make sure that you can express your idea in a concise, logical, and clear manner. So use that one as a kind of a guidance for you to start like the library. Even if you can only use maybe 50, 100 words, you can do that. That is okay as long as the other side can fully understand what you want to say. So in that manner, as long as you can do that, how you speak and what kind of words you can use in this conversation doesn't matter that much. But do remember that, as you can see from our kind of speakers and also the panel discussion, we work with international teams a lot, almost like daily. If you cannot express your ideas clearly, in that common language English, with your partners, it will be difficult to do this collaboration. So yes, make sure that you do have that kind of ability to express yourself clearly and logically. That's what we're looking for.
Yeah, awesome. And then to our software engineers, for software or firmware reader positions, is it more important to be able to write code quickly and efficiently, or to have the ability to think systematically and solve problems?
I think they're both important. And you know, some of our interviews are going to be about assessing, can you write code pretty fast to solve a problem? And some of our interviews are going to be about, can you think, systemically and design a system that will scale and things like that. And those are both very important skills for success in business.
Awesome. Are you adding on? No. Okay. Any other questions for our in-person audience before I continue with the online questions again? Going once, twice. So to the online audience, okay. Does your POS system support integration with other business softwares?
Me again. I think, I can only ask at a very superficial level, and it's probably the best, to answer by algorithm in the market. But as you know that, we build our tools, for the platform users. And, I use this example. We don't go to a restaurant to sell, Stripe, PayPal kind of services. We work with the expert in that area to build out the system so that we can finish starting from the reservation, ordering, and things like that, up to the point that we can say, okay, we need to process the payment. Then that's where Stripe PayPal comes into play. So in that matter, you can say that, we have to provide whatever our platform builder partners want. So there are a lot of things we have to do, a lot of different kind of platform we have to deliver. That's what I can tell you right now. For others, probably yes, Rahul can tell you.
I mean, the short answer is yes, and there's different ways in which we do that. The SDKs that we have are relevant for most platforms: Android, iOS, JavaScript, Java, .NET. So our customers, if they own the point of sale system for the business, can integrate it themselves. We also work with a variety of third parties that provide connectors. So, like for example, Oracle POS software, Microsoft POS software. So we're working with a whole bunch of third parties that build the integrations with those. But also that's point of sale software. There's also business software like Snowflake and all that. So one of the important products that Stripe actually has is called the Stripe Data Platform. So you can actually take your Stripe data, your Snowflake, join it with your other business data, etc. So, like I mentioned earlier, Stripe is sold as a portfolio of products, not a single thing. So typically, when someone will buy a terminal or something, they're also buying the subscription products, they're buying the reporting products, etc. So there's so it works with a lot of different business systems.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, looking back to our online questions. Can your system be easily scaled and upgraded as a merchant's business grows?
Yeah, I think if you remember the slide that I forget it was from Rahul or someone else, we offer many different types of devices. And it's very common that a merchant might start with one type of device and then realize that they need some other type of device in the future. We also offer things like, as Rahul said, ability to run applications on your device. And so it could also, be common that a merchant might start with using sort of a standard point of sale and then move to running a point of sale application on the device itself and having that in the hands of, staff at a restaurant, for example, going around and taking orders that way. So we do offer a lot of different offerings, and they kind of span again from low power, less expensive devices to higher power, more expensive devices. And our goal is to be able to support users at every phase of their scaling.
Yeah, I think like just to add on to that, like we have terminal product offerings that meet the needs of basically any size business, whether that's like somebody who has just like one particular, someone who's just like a solo entrepreneur, all the way up through like businesses that process like billions and billions of dollars in payment volume. So we have like from our, if you look at the different like readers and solutions that we have, like we start with on the one end, we have something like the tap to pay on iPhone and Android solution, which is basically ideal for like merchants, like individuals that go on, for example, I mean, there's all sorts of use cases, but like go on site if you have like an electrician or a plumber that comes to your house, right? That's a very small kind of business. That could be met very well through like either tap to pay on iPhone or Android, or through like the MPOS offerings. And then as you sort of like grow your business and you have like retail physical locations, we have like the smart POS readers, and at your point, we have like apps on devices, and you run your own apps on those devices as well. So yeah, I mean, I think we have merchants of basically like every single size, and we have tools to meet their needs. And we do definitely like want to be in a position to grow with them as well. So I think, yeah, my initial gut answer is going to be yes, that's the expanded form.
Right, so our in-person audience, one last time for questions before I give my attention back to the online audience and end the session. Yes, awesome.
Hello, I'm Tom. I have two questions. How do you make sure your system is working well before you push any changes to production? And the second question is, will you be busy during shopping festivals such as Black Friday? Thank you.
For the first question, there was an exact number actually in Stripe's most recent annual letter that said, and I'm going to forget the number, but it said some number of thousands of tests that are run automatically whenever we push a change to our services. And Stripe has been around for many years. We've got very robust infrastructure for pushing changes to our services. For cloud software, we haven't been doing it for as many years, so I don't know, what the number of tests that we have there is, but it's probably not as big as the number that we have on the server side. But we have a very robust system for assigning devices to different device pools, only deploying software to a limited set of devices first, and then rolling it out to a larger group as we verify that there are issues, or ability to pause or roll back changes if we do find that there are issues. And then as well as we're mentioned, processes for thinking about, okay, if something did go wrong, how do we find the root cause and make sure that we're providing more reliability to our customers. As to the second, 1.4 million, 1.4 million tests for our services. Thank you. Well, we're on 1.4 million tests through the year on our server deployments.
I love the teamwork going on here. Any other questions from our live audience?
I think he had another question about
okay.
Black Friday.
Oh, yes.
I'll just keep answering. It's for there are a few different peak periods for payments, or Black Friday, Cyber Monday is one of them. Anything approaching Christmas tends to be a busy time for physical payments. And so we'll do things like we'll have code freeze during very busy times to make sure that we're not making any changes that may impact our customers during those times. But like any company that has online services and things that need to have 5 nines of reliability, we have on-call practices, we have an on-call rotation, people can get paged at different times of day, and take it very seriously that we need to be responsive to our users' needs. We also take it very seriously that if problems start to happen, we need to fix the root cause so that we're not hopefully getting paged about something again in the future.
Perfect. Any more hands in the audience? Take a quick look. Nope. Okay. So one last question, and also from the online squad. What is the biggest challenge in fitting into the team's culture And what advice would you give?
I don't know, just use your common sense. I think, you heard a lot about, all of these principles and also what we want to get from you. But the environment we are building right now in Taiwan is that we respect everybody as a responsible adult. Many of you actually have kids, right? So certainly you want to be treated as a kind of adult instead of just like school kids. So in a way that we expect that you'll be able to manage your work and you'll be able to kind of ask questions and also tell me no when you really have something that are concerned about what we want to achieve. It's always an open discussion. You can express your concern and we can have a meaningful discussion. And also we would like to see this early instead of the last day, when we say, are we done? And you tell me that, no, we cannot do that. Don't be later. So those kind of the things, like I said, from the beginning, common sense. Maybe you feel that, oh my God, this is not something that I have in my current environment. But that's exactly what we want you to have in our kind of a working environment. And with that, we will be able to build the trust with our partners. And then we will be able to earn the respect from our partners. Then we can move toward our goal, become the world-class development center. Nothing special, nothing rocket science, all common sense. If you can do that, we'll be there.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I did listening to the conversation, I was thinking more about like what I've seen people do differently at like other tech companies that I've worked at, and sort of like how we places where we sort of like stand out in particular in interesting ways. I think one of the things that we do in general that I more so than I think many of the other places that I've worked at is like documentation and process. So one of the things that Stripe has always had a strong like remote office like culture. So there's always been like a remote hub, we call it. So we've always had like remote employees. And one of the things that I think really that we do differently that really help like support that and make that successful was writing down our like thoughts and then having like a lot of documentation, a lot of like making sure that we are like all aligned on exactly what we're going to be building and how we build it. So we have a lot of really good process around that. And I think that is a cultural element of just kind of like working at Stripe in general. Something to sit up and you can like yeah, I think that's a really good one. And I think that's sort of like, that is also really important to like helping make the office here successful as well. So when we come up with like tools, infrastructure, when we set out to like design SDKs, like, we will document them and we will have like really good like architecture and process and involve a lot of people in that process so that like, and we create these like work products, these artifacts that we can like share with people here as well. So we do a really good job of like bringing people along, no matter where they're located, and hopefully that's going to work.
Else going to add on? So that's the last question from the online audience and in-person audience. I know you guys prefer to do one-on-one questions, so I won't like bore you anymore. Let's give a quick round of applause to our 4 panelists, Daniel, Wei Ming, Abraham, Martin, for a great and thought-provoking session. Have you guys go back to your seats so we can move on to the next slide. Great. So before we jump into the networking session, please do me a quick favor by taking 1 to 2 minutes to fill out our post-event survey. Your feedback is invaluable for us as we plan for future engineering meetups. So by completing the survey, you'll also receive exclusive information about BBPulse hiring needs via email. And upon finishing the survey, please don't forget to take a screenshot of the completed survey and show it to any of the CAKE team members at the check-in area to receive a small gift. And then for the networking portion, 我先讲中文好了。在我们开始进行 networking 环节之前，请各位先帮我一个忙，花1到2分钟的时间帮我填写我们活动后的问卷。 那你的回馈对我们的计划未来的工程师聚会活动是非常宝贵的。完成问卷后，你将会通过 email 收到有关 BB Post 招募需求的一个独家讯息。然后一旦完成填写，请不要忘记帮我们拍一下他的问卷completion 图片。然后在报到区，请再向我们 Cake 工作人员显示他的 screenshot， 你就可以去领取一个小份的礼物。大家都照好了吗？ Have you all got the picture? Great. So while you're writing out the survey, I'm just going to go to the next section of the slides. Okay, so for the networking portion, please note that the mingling corner are laid out exactly as what's shown on slide here. You have our hardware engineering in the front, HR recruitment on your left side, controls software engineering on your right bottom side, and then software quality assurance on your left bottom side. Great. So we definitely recommend everyone take the opportunity to visit each of the corner and connect with each other. And we'll definitely be networking for a while. So make the most of the time and to engage with your peers and the panels. And we'll be ending our networking session at 5 p.m. sharp. 所以在我们 networking 环节中，请注意我们的设置的角落 mingling corners 与我们同一项画面上的布局是完全一模一样的。然后 Andy 会这边建议大家把握机会，给我们所有的请大家参观每个角落，然后与其他人做小小的互动。然后我们会有一段时间的社交活动这边，然后所以请大家多利用这段时间跟你的伙伴以及我们的讲师做 networking。然后我们会在5点整准时结束这边的 session。好，那 let's begin.